Welcome to the Nurse Power Podcast. I'm Meisha Mia.
And I'm Dr. Nicole Thomas.
And we're Biz Besties,
who created the Nurse Power Network to change the narrative of nurses and help them show up in their ugly truths and make power moves.
All while balancing life, love, and family. Hey y'all, I'm Meisha Mia.
I am Dr. Nicole Thomas.
We back.
And I'm excited for this conversation.
Me
this
too.
is gonna be a good one.
A good one.
This is going to be a good one that we really and truly need to talk about.
Yes.
One that it's a heavy one.
Yes, very much.
So we definitely want to give the trigger warning, but it's a needed one.
Trigger warning.
Definitely trigger warning.
What is April?
Yeah, so as we're recording this right now, you probably won't hear it now, but as we're now down in New Orleans recording season 2, it's currently the month of April, which is also Stress Awareness Month. And so we definitely had to do our due diligence and have this conversation surrounding stress and what stress looks like in the healthcare space, specifically for us as nurses, because we undergo a instrumental amount of stress that's not always related to our jobs.
Right.
Because I think that one of the narratives that is out there that does have some factual facts to it is that nurses are stressed. Absolutely 100% true. That's a fact. In so many different ways we are stressed because of the job. But we also have different other elements of life that make us human.
Exactly.
Right? We're wives, we're husbands, we're moms, we're aunts, we're friends, we're entrepreneurs, we're business people, we have feelings, we get hurt, we're in relationships, we have all these other different facets of us that also contribute to the stress, and then add on being a nurse. Right. And so we definitely want to have this conversation surrounding stress and nurses and what that does to us sometimes, and what does that mean in letting go to help with that stress.
Yes.
So I'm excited for the conversation.
Me too. And I actually like having this conversation.
Yeah.
I love talking about stress and self-care and mental health.
Yeah.
I do it a lot at work. Sometimes people think I'm weird.
I don't think it's weird.
Because I'll be at the nurse's station like, hey, how you feeling?
Yeah.
And the nurse be like, what do you mean? I like, no, how are you feeling?
How are you feeling? Why do they think that's weird? I'm happy. Let's start there. Why do they think that is weird?
I think it's because not enough of us are mindful of our own well-being. They're used to me saying, hey, how is your patient feeling?
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on in room 7? Is she okay? Instead of me saying, hey, are you okay?
Are you okay?
They're not used to that. And I do that a lot.
Yeah. And not even are you okay in the sense of with your patient load.
Yeah.
Are
internal.
you the person?
Yep.
Oh, I like
And when
that.
I do that, it always throws them off guard. And then somehow I navigate my way into advocating for mental health and therapy, because I just love to do that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is very important as we, talk about this topic in the presence of Stress Awareness Month is to understand that stress is a normal part of life. At some point in time, every single one of us, regardless of our profession, regardless of what phase we're in life, we're going to feel a sense of stress, right? It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think the bigger question is how do we positively, impactfully, and effectively manage the stress when it does come, because it's coming.
It is.
And so in that, we have so many different other elements that contribute to the management of that stress that we don't have the proper tools and equipment to be able to handle, because the reality of it is we're still dealing with the traumas of our childhood.
Yes.
We're still,
Right. So you can't get to what's current because you haven't dealt with what's behind you.
Oh my God. And I think that that's important for nurses to understand, because a lot of times I hear that, nurses want to contribute or attribute the stress, rather, I should say, to the job. And again, I'm not saying that it's not the job. Yes, what we do is stressful.
It's stressful.
But what I also want nurses to understand is that you are a holistic being. Being a nurse is only one small fraction of who you are. There's so many different other elements that you need to make sure that you are tending to. And so I want to have this conversation specifically with my biz bestie, Meisha, because she has definitely went through an instrumental amount of stress in her life that went beyond just being a nurse.
Yeah, it was different.
It was beyond just, running her very successful and lucrative brand at the time, Chicks with Checks. It was beyond the Nurse Power Network. Right. And it was letting go during tragedy.
Yes.
So talk to us as much as you can, much as you feel comfortable talking to us about that. And what was that situation and how did that add to the stress?
So because like we've all said, being a nurse is stressful. Mm-hmm. So we have a pretty good tolerance for stress, to be honest.
We do.
We have a lot of tolerance for stress.
A lot higher than others.
Yeah, and a lot of times, a lot of things is usually like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, life will throw you some things and you'll be like, I ain't got this one.
At all.
So, and that's just what happened for me. In the case of like this time last year, I lost my brother. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with talking about it now, surprisingly, but I am. But in the tragedy of losing my brother, it was a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. A lot of stress because it was untimely and unexpected. But also because I'm a nurse. So like I said, our role itself is stress.
Yeah.
And when I talked to my therapist about it, especially in that breaking point window, because it was moments where I literally was losing my mind, and I was telling her, like, you don't understand. It's like I'm in a space where the job is stressful. Now home is stressful.
Yeah.
I can't take it in both places.
Mm-hmm.
I can only do one. And so at that point, what was getting the most from me was the stress at home, because I could not deal with the job, which really turned into me not wanting to go to work. And it was just a lot of depression, and it was a lot of, just unmotivation, even the entrepreneur side of the job, because I wear many hats. I couldn't move my business. I couldn't move my regular job. I just could not move in the business space, because that is a stressful part of me too. And I had built up a coping mechanism to work with that stress.
Yeah.
But then when I was introduced to new stress, I could not deal with that anymore. Mm-hmm. And that was a difficult space for me, because I'm so used to feeling like the strong one and the one that can keep going. And I feel like all of us in the nursing community are really good at portraying to be the strong one.
Yes, and it's a hard place and space to be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true though. Are we really the strong ones?
I know that there has been a lot of conversation surrounding, I don't want to be the strong one. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to be strong. I want to be soft. And I get that. And it sounds great. Mm-hmm. The reality of it is, if we're talking about real practical things that happen, and the reality of life is that you have to be strong in certain elements of life. If not, life will take you and it will do what it wants to do with you that is not according to the will for your life. So while it sounds great, we have to be strong in certain elements. Now, I think the bigger question is, what does being strong look like to you?
That's true.
Is you being strong, you saying, sis, I need help? Is you being strong saying, I need to just shut myself off from the world right now?
Right.
Is you being strong admitting, I need to go to therapy?
Right.
Is you being strong saying, it's okay for me to take this mental health medicine to help with my anxiety? Yes. What does being strong look like for you?
That's true.
I think that's really the question, is what do you define it as? Because the reality is only the strong survive. But you have to define what being strong looks like for you.
My mom been saying that all year, girl.
Yeah.
My mother's strong.
Really?
Yeah, my mother is stronger than me, and she swears by it. She's like, no, only the strong survive. Like, I have to be strong. What do you expect? What do you expect? Because everybody's always looking at her like, they can't believe how she's just held this all together. And they're like, well, what do y'all expect? Like, she says that all the time. Like, I have to be strong.
Yeah.
That's the, and she always says, too, life is for the living, and I have to be strong. I'm still here, and I'm here for a reason.
I'm still here.
And so that's just a constant reminder. Like, even in your stressful times, your strength has to radiate, because your strength is really your source. That's the fuel to keep going. If you don't have the strength, you don't have anything.
That's the fuel to keep going. So, while I've definitely experienced loss, and I've experienced loss from the perspective of losing my dad, losing my grandparents, things that weren't really unexpected. Right? Because either they were sick and, we had our time to build memories and kind of prepare ourselves as much as possible, because you can't always fully prepare for that. My losses have been a little bit different than yours. Being untimely.
Yes, they're untimely.
Being so young. Being someone so close, a sibling, who hadn't even really started their life yet.
No.
What has that looked like for you in being able to accept what is and let go and move forward on the path of Meisha?
That is, it took me a while to even have an answer. I'm glad I got an answer. It lets me know that my healing journey is going. Like we said, previous episodes, to hear the word journey, it means to keep going.
Yeah.
Don't stop. And in this journey, I've certainly learned that, for one, I needed to surrender. This whole 11 months to me, I went through a lot of frustration with him. My brother was 20 years old, and he was the baby of all of us. And being a innocent victim of gun violence, it gave me a lot of anger. So I went through a lot of rage and a lot of questioning my faith, my religion, and really just trying to understand what was the reason. And so in that time, I finally surrendered to get conversations with God that I never had before. And I love it for me too, that I'm finally in this space where it's no longer anger, and it's more so clarity on purpose, alignment, and what God is doing for me through this. Because it's not to be against me. And a lot of times when you're going through things like this, you really feel like it's punishment. But it's ideally preparation. But until you surrender, you don't even get to see what you're preparing for. So I had to surrender. And another thing I had to do in this moment to get to the space to take care of Meisha is I had to be still. For so many times, we've all had grief, and we thought staying busy was the answer. But as long as you're busy, you're distracting yourself from the voice of God. And so I knew I needed to stay still. The more still I was in this process of grieving, the louder God's voice became to me. The more I was able to understand exactly why I was in this situation, and exactly why this situation wasn't to harm me, but to strengthen me. I finally started to see the good in the goodbye. And it took me a lot to work through this. A lot of work. A lot of work. A lot of work. And because what I know about my brother, he was so special. Like I said, he was the baby of all of us. My mother had 4 kids. And when he came in the family, we were all adults. So he was all of our baby. He was all of our baby. And I couldn't understand why God would take him from me, particularly, because I would always hear my mom say, God gave his only begotten son. She's preached that scripture this whole year. She said, well, I had to give one of mine, and I still have 2. And I can remember going to my therapist and saying, well, I don't have any more. And my therapist looked at me one day and she said, Meisha, you have to understand that what you're experiencing is not really grief of a sibling. You're grieving like a mother. You was there when she had him. You cut his cord. You went to all the PTA meetings, all the practices, all the back to school shopping. All those hard conferences that they needed to have. You was all a part of that. So it's different for you.
Yeah.
What you're feeling is
different.
different. And so your healing journey will look different. And that's when things started to change with my conversation and the way I surrendered in stillness. I truly finally seen what God was showing me in the process of letting go was something I had never realized I experienced, which was motherhood. And that's when I realized that having my own family was very important
for you.
Wow. I never knew it until now.
Wow.
It took this surrendering actually to realize that what I had was special. But because it was not packaged in a traditional way that we see motherhood, we didn't define it as that.
Oh.
And so what God was showing me in the midst of all of the loss that I was experiencing is that what you had, you can still get back. And had this not happened, right, I probably would have went my whole life never wanting kids. I've never expressed the interest in a child. Anybody that know me will tell you I've never wanted children.
Never has.
Never expressed that interest. And it strictly came from my surrendering to God to realize that what I had was very special.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was until it was gone.
It was gone. Yeah. Oh, that is powerful.
Yep. So the surrendering story, just and that's the art of letting go.
Yeah. The art
because
of
when you
letting
do let go and you find peace and healing and whatever it is you're letting go, you're going to create peace.
Yeah.
In that. You're going to create that peace and see the good in that goodbye. And that's a hard thing to do in all things. So we talk about grief and, untimely loss, but the domino effect when you have a loss like this that comes from it, there's secondary loss. The loss of my thriving businesses, because I'm unmotivated. The loss of my last relationship. I end up leaving that relationship because the one thing that God revealed to me in surrendering, we disagreed on. Children.
Wow.
And it was so clear to me that it was nothing else I could do.
Nothing else you can do.
I'd never been so sure about leaving anything alone until that happened.
Yeah. Secondary loss.
Yeah, secondary loss.
Wow.
Yep. Multiple loss.
Yeah, it
after
is.
one.
It is.
One major loss.
Yeah.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah. I definitely just want to tell you that I am super proud of you. Your journey throughout this has definitely helped me personally, just to learn how to deal with situations in a different manner, how to move differently. One of the things that you did after we had our last major event was you surrendered and you said, Nicole, I need to take a step back from this and I need to fall off of the grid for a little while to work on Meisha. And even you doing that gave me so much strength.
Yeah.
So the other part of that is know that in what you perceived as a weakness, your weak moment, your most vulnerable moment, was giving strength to other people, right?
Girl,
and helping them.
It was hard.
So I'm proud of you.
Hard.
I love you.
Tearjerker.
And I'm happy that you chose Meisha beyond anything else.
Hardest thing ever.
It was hard. I know it was, but you did it, and so that just goes to show people, especially nurses who have dealt with so much loss
and never put themselves first.
When we talk about the pandemic, and while I was definitely not on the front line of that, nurses saw loss that like they had never seen before. And it may not have been a family member or a close person. Some of them may have. Some of them did lose family members.
Right.
But just seeing it, they still experience loss. And so now they need to know, how do they let that go?
Yeah. Surrender.
It's the surrender.
It is. That's a big piece.
And so, even with that, until you do that, it adds on to the stress of life, personal life, professional life, children, relationships, money, all of these different things.
All of them stress
factors.
Adds
on to it. And so how can we collectively as nurses effectively manage our stress? And so some things that I think that is important for nurses to understand in stress management is to understand that you are a human being first and foremost.
I like that.
I have become, I have started a new practice that is really and truly now when I introduce myself to people and they say, hey, how are you? What do you do? Tell me a little about you. I would always start with, hi, my name's Nicole. I'm a nurse.
Right.
I don't start with that no more.
Exactly.
I tell them who I am, what I do. I am a builder. I help to build community programming. I am passionate about healthcare outcomes, health equity. I love educating. I love students. I love all of these different things. I'm a mom of 2 amazing daughters. I'm married. I love to shop. I love to have a good time. All of those things. And it just so happens that I'm a nurse.
Yes, because you lose the core of who you are.
Because you lose the core of who you are. So my first thing would be is to acknowledge who you are. Right?
I love that.
And then to also understand that the weight of everything is not yours to happen. Right? It's not yours to carry. You cannot carry everything. And this may sound a little harsh. I don't mean it this way. But the reality of it is, when you clocking in people's job, you do your absolute best to give whatever it is that you have been charged to do to at least the minimum expectation. We definitely want to go before a minimum, but at least at the minimum. When you clock out of them people's job, you off them people's job.
Exactly.
Let all that stuff stay there. Do not bring it home with you. What happened, what Becky said, how the schedule did, you don't like your manager, so-and-so ain't speak with you, the doctor didn't do this, that, what. Let them people y'all deal with that.
And stop spending so much time at the job. That's another stress management tip. Most of you are not getting enough time away from work. You picking up every extra shift that they post on the board.
Because you've put your lifestyle to a place where you
can't afford it.
So you can't afford it. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that is. But that is a big stress management issue.
It's a stress management
And it's the reason why they have no core value of who they are outside of a nurse. Because you're there for 48 hours a week.
Because you're there for 48 hours in a week.
Yeah.
48.
Sometimes 60.
That's a lot.
They do.
And the hospital, wherever you work, clinic, whatever it is in healthcare, they're going to always pull on you because the reality of it is there is not one healthcare organization out here
that don't need you,
that exists without a nurse.
Right.
That's just how much power we have as nurses. Not one single hospital, clinic, whatever can operate without a nurse.
Nope.
And so in that, you have to start to build boundaries surrounding how much of your power you're going to give to them and how much of your power you're going to keep for yourself to build yourself up internally and wholly. Right? And so those are my big things when we talk about stress management. Some people say spa days and getting your hair, and all those things are great, but it's cute.
Yeah.
But I think that's a regular part of life. I mean, you should just do that regardless, but find something that's sustainable.
Get you a journal.
Yeah.
I have become a huge journal person. Like, when it comes to journaling, it's such a stress reliever because the one thing that people don't realize that's always going to be 10 steps ahead of you is your mind.
Yeah.
So you got to get out of your head. And if you're not getting out of your head, it's because you're not journaling enough.
Yeah.
You need to start journaling. You need to get in your books, get in devotionals, or wherever your faith-based belief is. Start using them as tools to manage your stress, because that really has helped me manage my my current stress level. And just know that everything is temporary.
It's temporary.
When it comes to stress management, it's temporary. Stress is going to happen, and you'll get through it, but you have to have healthy coping mechanisms. Some ways we deal with stress is not always healthy.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's not always healthy.
It's not always healthy.
Running up debt and shopaholics, or, you may have some sort of other unhealthy addiction or whatever, but you have to look at how you're coping with stress. And in this season, I've also seen some of my dear family turn into like pure alcoholics from the grief. Yeah.
Really.
And it can be bad. I've seen it in healthcare. Some nurses turn into
I have too.
Alcoholics, or even
amazing nurses.
Like they turn into the wrong thing for stress. So you want to make sure you're coping in a healthy way. And what I learned in my process of stress right now, if the way I'm coping with it means I'm taking medicine, or I might bite my nails sometimes. Shoot, that's nothing compared to what I could be doing.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that what I am doing is not putting my life at jeopardy, in that capacity, or changing my financial abilities or anything like that. So just evaluate the way you handle stress.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah, and definitely know that it's okay to get a therapist.
Yes.
Get you some therapy.
We can't say that enough.
You have to get the right tools, right? I know all of us, especially as nurses. Oh, I took a mental health course. Yes, right. And so even some of us that specialize in mental health, right? We think that we can fix our own stuff because we have, that knowledge. But you need somebody that can look at you from an objective perspective and see things that you don't see, that's willing to call you out, because it's hard sometimes for us to call ourselves out, that's going to hold you accountable to certain things,
right?
And it's just hard for us to be able to do that. So I am a huge proponent for therapy across the board for every single individual, even if you don't have a major significant event going on in your life. You just need to know, how do I handle and manage the day-to-day of this thing called life? Because you start your day at 6 o'clock in the morning, everything fine, gravy, you listening to your music, you going between Lil Boosie and Tasha Cobb all in one moment, and then by 3 o'clock
life be lifing. By 3 o'clock, life be lifing, y'all.
So it's challenging. So, I just want to encourage everyone to identify and know that stress is inevitable. It's going to happen, but find what works best for you. Find your safe space and community that can help you to manage effectively, positively, and impactfully the stress that you are going to endure. And that's where your power as a nurse is, because now you've taken back your life in its entirety. That's nurse power.
That is nurse power.
That is nurse power.
I love it.
I love
it. This was good. Shout out to my nurse power tribe too. They was loving on me. Y'all have shown me so much love. I've gotten so many cards, notes, and texts, and jewelry and everything. Like, it's been amazing. Y'all been a real solid team. I love you guys.
Yes. All right. So how to go stay connected with us, Meisha?
Y'all know nursepowernetwork.com, or you can hop on all social media platforms. Check us out on YouTube. We trying to get that up though. Nurse Power Network as well. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast channel, Nurse Power Podcast. Give us a rating and a great review. Bye guys.
Love y'all.